Hey everyone, welcome to Keeping It Real, the podcast on Long Island where we talk about all things real estate, especially as it pertains to Long Island real estate. Because real estate is done differently all over the country, but I feel like if you'll agree with me, it's not done any differently, like more differently than it is here on Long Island. It is so uniquely
Yeah.
a Long Island thing, even compared to New York City.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to do. We're here to bring you really relevant information about what's happening here on Long Island, but also to introduce you to interesting people involved in one way or the other with real estate here on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a new year and we're glad to, greet everybody again.
Yes.
And but our first topic really is that I want to bring everybody into is how interesting the world has changed with changes in the administration. And we've been around a bit.
A bit.
And one thing that we know is like Republican, Democrat, this president, that president. I can't remember a time whether you voted for him or didn't, whether you like him, love him, or you met or hate him, the expectation of change is so great and how that might affect real estate, especially here on Long Island, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's interesting also that we've had so much change, right, in the last now 4 years.
Yeah.
Almost 5 years actually. Wow, time's flying. 5 years, like a lot's happened to all of us in the last 5 years, and now to have this change and have real estate have really had such an impact in the last 5 years, watching the prices skyrocket, watching people fight to get homes, seeing some shift in the last year, and now having someone who really knows real estate in the White House, I think is going to be an interesting thing to watch.
So you think that he's somebody that really knows real estate? I guess he was a developer in New York City, right?
He knows New York City real estate.
That's certainly true.
Well, and he's bought things in other parts of the country, so.
I think that, we'll have to see. There are different changes happening, though, throughout our society as a result. And one of the things that's been on our radar and everyone's radar, really, that I think is important to address here, is the nature of free speech and social media, because social media is such an important part of our lives, and even when in terms of real estate.
Yeah.
And how people perceive the market and who is professional and who is doing what here on Long Island has a lot to do with what real estate agents have been doing as far as being their own marketers and their own influencers, quote unquote, following the national influencers on, network shows or, on Netflix and things like that.
Yeah.
And, where is the line between entertainment and truth, and what can we trust? And we're still trying to unpack, more specifically, the recent changes that Mark Zuckerberg took with Meta as far as attempting to have a group of people, unelected, it's just like taking the trust of the company to have fact checkers.
Right.
Try to help the audience parse what is real and what is not real, and now turning it onto the audience to determine what is real and what is not real. Why are we bringing this up? I think it's really important because, again, we experience ourselves as realtors on platforms like Instagram, Facebook, other realtors that are using it to promote themselves, to say what they're doing, and can the public, can our audience trust the information that they're getting? How would you begin to even process that?
That is, as you said, a lot to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
Because in free speech, what do they say? Free speech isn't free. You actually have to take the time then on the things that are interesting to you or the things that you want to know about to know what's true and what's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing that our audience can feel really confident and hopefully comfortable in is that we come every week, we share what we see, we come with the numbers, of what's going on in the market, and we have experience. We've been doing this. I'm closing in on 30 years this year.
Yeah, but Danielle, I mean, we've known agents doing this for 30 years that you can't, like, let's be honest.
Fair.
So why? I mean, I wanted to keep talking about this and
Yeah.
talk about like the big picture before zeroing in on us, because there's a lot to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
like if we want to unpack it, we have to unpack this.
Yeah.
Like talking about the problem, but then saying, "But you can trust us." I just don't think. I don't think that's what I don't find that compelling. So what? How do we? I mean, let's talk about the issue first. Like, what is it that we're seeing? Why do we think it's important to even bring it up in the first place?
Well, it's important because everybody's talking about it. And it's important because it's going to be a change. We saw with X, you know, they took the fact checkers away, and there's more free speech. It's also people getting to say whatever they want.
Right.
And is there more fact in some of it? Yeah. But can there also be less fact in some of it?
I think one of the problems is that we're talking about social media, which it's designed, it was engineered from the beginning to capture our attention and hold our attention.
Yeah.
As a result, people's attention spans, we see it in our kids,
Yeah.
has diminished.
Yeah.
And as a result, the stuff that we see, we're constantly scrolling. You have seconds, maybe a couple minutes to capture someone's attention, and
I would go back to seconds.
In that time frame, that user they're making snap decisions. Do they like? Do they not like? Do they trust? Do they not trust the information?
Yeah.
That makes things really difficult, because you're going back to, from what I understood you saying, is you're going back to putting the onus on the audience themselves. And absolutely, like if it were up to me, our education system would be really focused on, on some really key things, like rhetoric, like, debate, critical thinking.
Critical thinking, I was going to say, yeah.
But our incentives and the way our economy is being set up makes that really difficult. And when you're trying to make snap decisions, how does a brand that's trying to be trusted, trying to do things the right way, compete in a world where not only are there no fact checkers, it's up to that community to decide what is true and what is not true. And just simply saying, well, we've been doing this 30 years and we have all these reviews. I mean, that's important. Don't get me wrong.
It's not just 100% no fact checkers. They're still going to be checking certain, a small percentage of things, to make sure it's, I think the algorithm's still going to be checking some small things. At the same time, they're adding the community notes, right? Like how X has, they're adding the community notes. So people are going to have to take an extra bit of time to know.
I think that's asking a lot.
That may be asking a lot. In a free society, people have to take some time, I think, to know what's true and what's not true, or just not be,
My idealistic self
yeah,
agrees with that 100%.
Yeah.
Of course, we live in a democracy, and yet, we've never been more divided. How is it that we live in a country that is either blue or red, and both sides think that they're both right? I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
really think they're right.
And really think they're right.
Yeah.
And believe that they're grounded in truth. So, yes, we should be under one roof saying that we're all one country, and that at the end of the day, we should be seeking truth for the benefit of the entire country. And I think what has exacerbated those differences, because I think they were always there, we were regionalized, but it wasn't brought to the surface and shown to us as to the extent that it was, until news became 24 hours and for profit, and social media really showed us our differences.
But what people forget is, so really at the end of the day, my degree is in poli-sci history, and that's what I was going to do until real estate happened. So So people forget, though, there was yellow journalism, and people would only read or maybe even the young people today don't even know like yellow journalism. People would only read the papers that supported their opinions. And we have had times in our country where we've been super divided.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, we had a civil war. We've been really divided in the past. And again, we're divided. And it may feel especially exacerbated because of social media and because of the 24-hour news cycle.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I think that, listen, we are boots on the ground. And at the end of the day, people mostly care about, it still comes down to their kitchen table issues.
Mm-hmm.
And how is real estate going to affect them? How is interest rates going to affect them? How is inflation going to affect them?
Mm-hmm.
And those are issues that, we talk about inflation and how real estate, is a great hedge against it. We talk about pricing and we talk about opportunity, and so I think at the end of the day, free speech is just such a cornerstone to our society and to our culture and to our area, and it does come with a responsibility. So my hope, my idealistic hope,
right,
is that, people can take that extra time. And, also, we were talking about algorithms, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice that you could maybe change your algorithms a little bit, because I don't always want to see the same comedian or the same realtor. Okay, if it's us, you can keep seeing us. But I would like to, in social media, have an opportunity to see more.
Right. But they're incentivized to keep our eyes on the screen.
Yeah.
I'll say this. My own algorithm, I'm perfectly happy with. But I've chosen to strictly limit my time on something on Facebook, because that algorithm, I just find people, just generally speaking, to be a little bit more angry. And there's a lot more AI generated stuff. There's a lot more like misinformation, I think, on Facebook. My Facebook algorithm. So I kind of avoid it, because like you said, as far as responsibility goes,
yeah.
As far as responsibility goes, my responsibility that I'm taking is to be educated as much as I can be, and as a result, my Instagram, right? You see my Instagram, Amira. It's all positive. It's all like uplifting. It's Diary of a CEO. It's all good stuff. It's people saying good things, or posts of, like inspirational quotes.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I actually enjoy it. But I try not to be naive, because I also follow a lot of real estate agents. And I have to say, and this is part of it, right? We're already leaving 2024 and coming into 2025, there's already an element of, can I trust what I'm seeing? And I see even agents on our own team often struggle to identify other agents, whether they're telling the truth or not. And you've dealt with that, and I've dealt with that, where they say, but Jon-David, look at this agent. They're doing X, Y, and Z. Why can't we be doing X, Y, and Z? And then we look them up. And look up this person's track record. And our own agents are fooled into thinking they're this superstar. And we look at their track record, and they are so far out of the realm of...
Their job is their social media page.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the key. Where a lot of real estate agents that came into the business, and I'd say a lot since COVID, think that if I create a sense that I'm successful on Instagram, that's going to fool people into thinking I am successful, and that will lead people into working with me,
right?
And that will then make me actually successful.
Yes.
So how the heck, if we're going backwards, not that there were ever fact checkers on real estate agents, but I'm just saying, as a society, And you could argue because, actually, before I say this, I do want to bring this up. I think there is one place on the internet where a community seems to do a pretty damn good job with the truth. It's not perfect. It's never going to be because we're human beings. But I'd say Wikipedia. There are no people behind the scenes going, whoa, hold on a second.
No, I actually think I don't
know.
No, that's
they empower people that they look at as subject matter experts.
Yeah.
But they're not paid by Wikipedia. It's all like Wikipedia barely has enough money to operate. That's why they raise money every year.
Yeah.
But Wikipedia is
Meanwhile, what would we all do
it's
without
community. It's community based, which is what Mark is trying to do. Like I know the guy.
I know.
Mark. Hey, Mark, give me a call. We'll talk about this, especially as it relates to Long Island real estate. Anyway. It seems to work as well as anything else on the internet that I have seen. Perfect, not perfect, we could debate that.
Nothing's going to be perfect.
But that being said, it is a marketing platform.
Yeah.
Instagram is not free. Facebook, X, they are not free. We are the product.
Right.
And we would be lying if we weren't saying part of what we're doing on Instagram to put out useful content. It's just we choose that content be as reliable, as value add as possible, because simply and relevant because that's how we were raised and that's what we stand for.
Exactly.
So what is the end result? Like what's our advice, or what are we looking for in the future? What do we think is going to happen?
Well, my brain was going somewhere else.
Okay.
In what you just said, because you asked a lot of questions about how can people know.
Yeah.
I think that it comes to asking questions. Like if you're actually out there and you want to consume real estate information, or you want to, or you actually want to transact in real estate, listen to what the people are saying. What's the intent behind it? How do they present themselves? Is it just fun for social media? Does it have meat to the bone, so to speak?
I don't know. I see incredible property videos with drones, and we do this too.
Yeah.
But it might make it seem like, wow, this person, because the production is done so well, because...
Well, I think you have to start somewhere, right? You have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, listen, Zillow is a great tool. If you don't know anybody out there and you don't know anything, Zillow is a great tool. And it'll tell you what people... I mean, it's not like as close, but it shows how many houses people sell. It shows like the kind of market that they have. So, and I think that, listen, sometimes if I don't know, we know agents all over the country, but if I don't know somebody, I go on Zillow and I start looking, and then I Google that person, and so I'll do some research if I need an agent for a referral and it's not someone where we know. Most of the time we know somebody, but if we don't, that's what I do. And Zillow is a trusted, great tool to help people find good agents that really know what they're doing. And I think that
because you can look on the agent finder and look them up.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing that you also just said was just asking questions, right? Like that just because you click a button, just because you DM someone, because once you get that person on the phone, are you or you're DMing them or text messaging them, are you asking the right questions? I think that was really good as a great point. Not only how many homes do you sell, but what is a question we never get that I wish we'd get all the time? What is your list to sell ratio?
I don't know why, but I had a feeling you were going to go there, because just recently I was having this conversation on a listing appointment. I just got a new listing in Massapequa, and this actually came up. Years ago, so back in 1995, when I was first working with our dad, Richard Lenard, the the average sale price in 1995 in our area was like $170,000.
Yeah.
Do you know what our average sale price was?
What?
$188,000.
Back then, as a percentage, that's considered, yes.
It's a huge difference.
What is it today?
And so today, we actually have to run the numbers up today, but one of the things is that we did notice is, unless you happen to know it, I don't, but I know that whenever we compare our sales, they're more, and we have a new MLS now that showed us a chart that shows at like the Nassau Suffolk, the list to sale ratio. Everybody else, as an average, is the prices are below the list, and ours are still above consistently.
Yeah.
So I think that's a question for another day that we can delve into, what our list to sale price ratio is. But I think it's a great question.
I think, yeah. I mean, look, just the fact that we're willing to have this conversation, ask these questions, I think, most people aren't, because most people want to like hide under that rock.
Yeah.
They want to convince you like, look at me, don't look, or look over here, don't look at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not what we're about.
No.
And we have the track record to prove it, so we have the confidence and comfort to have these conversations.
Yeah.
So this brings us like full circle back to real estate on Long Island.
Yeah.
And how to stay abreast of what's really important, because at the end of the day, we're talking about, it could be that influencer agent that, jumps in pools and stuff and is there for entertainment purposes. Mm-hmm. Or, I see content on Long Island Wise Guy, who I personally like. He's on my feed. Mm-hmm. Whoever's running that brilliant channel, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But, I just last night with the cat, I saw real estate, mm-hmm. A real estate post. How does if somebody is on there and we're getting more and more of our information, because I know I just heard somebody who's out there watching this just jumped into my head to be like, yeah, but JD, I'm not actually looking to Instagram or Facebook to get my real estate information. And I want to be clear, it may not intentionally be right where you're going to look for your news, your sports, actually for sports it is. But for your real estate, because real estate is so darn important. Mm-hmm. But you can't help but to be influenced, because the thing that seems interesting, or the thing that like is in the back of your head when you see a post that's supposed to be funny, but there's truth to the humor about the prices on Long Island. What does that really mean for you? Are you just like, are they just trying to get an emotional response, or are they truly educating? And I think that's one of the main differences. Are you being educated while you're being entertained?
Right.
In the platform where you are anyway.
That's a really, really good question. I like that you posed that. That's like a wow. Really the way you just put that was just kind of like a yeah. Is it just for entertainment purposes, which is fun?
Yeah.
Or are you actually learning something out of it?
Well, when they look at younger millennials and the Gen Z, they're mm-hmm. saying they're getting their information from their news source.
Right.
Their understanding of the world, which we could say is news in a loose term.
Right.
from Instagram and TikTok.
Right.
And to a certain extent, even now, YouTube and YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we, as agents, are competing in that place.
Yeah.
Because we want to be compelling and we want to be entertaining in a way that is educational, right? Like yeah. TV, we all grew up with cable TV, so it's not like we can't relate to that.
Right.
There was always like on, you could watch a movie on HBO, now Max or whatever they call it, and you could see blood and gore, but you could turn to a next channel and it could be Nat Geo.
Which could be blood and gore for the animals.
Or Discovery, yes. But you could learn.
Yes.
It's just what channel is. Yeah. Now it's just like they took all those channels and your feed is now, it could be blood and gore. Then the next thing could be funny. Then the next thing could be educational.
Yeah.
And where do we fit in that whole place? And again, if that's your feed, if that's your algorithm, then what can you trust? What's there for entertainment purposes? And what is the goal of those people that are delivering that content to you? Because one thing that I can take away from doing all this is this is not easy.
No.
There's thought that goes into this.
Yeah.
Right, Amira?
Do you know, it used to be, I used to watch, like when we were younger, and you'd watch the evening news, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was at 5 o'clock. And you'd think, oh, I wonder when they show up to, I would think about, I wonder when they show up to work. And then when we first started doing this during COVID, and we were doing our live Facebook videos, and they were like a half hour, 40 minutes, and it literally took days. To
get
do
one.
Yes.
Yes.
And so, that's how we helped keep busy. And then it's morphed into our podcast now. So, but it actually takes a lot of time to not just come here and go blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. So why would somebody take the time? Whether for some reason, like one on my algorithm lately, I although I don't click on it, but it's like, like when you're scrolling, you'll see other, you might like this reel or that reel. Yeah. And then it's like a carousel. It goes side to side. And it's like two people dancing. It's always like a husband and wife. And they're just dancing and they're doing like whatever is like popular dance moves. And I'm like, you have to understand that they're doing that for a reason. They are hoping to gain profit. It's not like you don't know that, right? It's not like I'm not trying to like question your intelligence here.
Right.
But if somebody's putting out real estate content about Long Island, what are they trying to achieve? For us, to pull back the curtain a little bit, to be as transparent as we can be, because that's right. That's what we've been talking about is like, Zuckerberg and Meta saying like, oh, we're going to be more transparent. Okay, we'll be more transparent. If we've looked the seller in the face and say, we're going to do our very best to market your home. Yeah. And we know a large part of that audience is on Instagram. It's on TikTok. Yeah. It's on YouTube. Yeah. Then we are going to create content to bring in more buyers. And hopefully you, if you're interested out there, you might fall in love with this home and you might see it. That's a profit motive. Yeah. But that's meant to be educational and informative and value add. Yeah. Versus, as we said before, riding a horse, jumping in a pool, just, does that get views? Yes. Could you make the argument that the more views it gets, it might bring in more traction? Maybe, but there's more to it than that. That's why you got to start like peeling away the onion. Yeah. Is the person trying to be an influencer, or are they in the business? Are they in it every day? Yeah. Are they talking to clients? Are they getting top dollar? Yeah. Do they know how to negotiate? Can you get them on the cell phone? Like all these things matter. These are the questions. Like, if you need to be able to, here's my advice, because I think at some point, like, we can wrap this up because I don't think we could go on talking about this for hours, right? Yeah. But if you were thinking about selling in the spring market, which is here now, right. It's not just who looks good, who looks the part, because that's getting more and more difficult to discern. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree with that.
Not only get better at discerning what you're seeing online, offline, who's still doing postcards, who's in your mailbox, who you hear in the community. Oh, I've heard this name, I've heard that name. Is really get good at interviewing who you are going to hire, or even if you're not ready yet, right. Who's going to give you the best information to decide whether interest rates now make it the best time to sell, or could it be in the future if this administration is saying our goal is to reduce interest rates, how that might affect you. Yeah. Not is it better or worse to sell now, but is it right for you now, and what could you expect possibly in the future? Getting really good at those interview questions. Do you know what I've been using?
What?
ChatGPT. Yes. Exactly. ChatGPT. Do me a favor. Use this prompt at home.
Okay.
Act like you are the best real estate agent that has ever been on Long Island. Type this out. And then help me understand, because I am your best, most beloved twin brother, and you want to take the most best care of me. And I need to know the very best interview questions. I mean, these are prompts, like, obviously I'm being facetious, but the better you prompt ChatGPT and you're clear and you tell it what your expectations are, man, it'll be like 100 questions. Now, when you actually sit down with us, we're going to help guide you in the right direction because we've been doing this so long. Yeah. But you want to make sure that through that conversation, because if it becomes like question, answer, you're not actually going to get as much of a feel for whether we're the right agent for you. But you'll see as the conversation progresses, we can check that box off. We talked about that. We checked that box off. Yeah. We talked about that. And then at the end, whatever's left over that you still feel is compelling, that like, if you're not like, okay, these are not, I'm not completely convinced they're the right agents for me. These are the questions I need answered before I know. You'll have those questions.
Do you know, and talking about transparency and asking questions, you want an agent that's open to you coming with those questions.
Yeah.
You know, and fully prepared to answer questions. Like, throw any question at me, throw any question at you. We'll answer it.
Yeah, try to stump us.
And we should have that. That'd be funny, one episode. No, but you know, like, seriously though.
We should have an episode where Amira just like reads out like problems or questions and like that we have to face.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
And I mean, listen, and every once in a while we get stumped, but we know how to go find the answer. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're never afraid to answer questions. We're never afraid to take the time so that someone can understand.
Yeah.
You know, as fast as our scrolling lives are, when it's someone's real estate life, because real estate is life, it happens most often. It's like birth, death, divorce, like life changes. We're here, and this is a time where time shouldn't just be scroll by and fast and cute and fun.
Yeah. I mean, look, two things are true at the same
Not
time.
That it can't be
you know I love to say that, right?
Yeah.
Reputation does matter, but you can't just hire somebody strictly on their reputation. Believe it or not. I'm telling you, don't just hire us strictly on our reputation. You have to ask the questions, because we know that there are agents out there that become known as the agent for this community or that community. And we know that when we come in there, we outperform regardless.
Yeah.
So I think that, I know that going forward, I mean, we're looking forward to an amazing 2025.
Yeah.
We have, I mean, do you even know how many listing appointments we've had so far this year?
Many.
I think I lost track, but I think we're in the 10, 12
I was going to say,
range.
yeah, that's about what I was going to say.
And we're just a couple weeks in.
Yeah.
So that being said, if you're thinking about selling, of course, reach out. But know what you're seeing, know why you're seeing it, and ask questions. If you ever have any questions of us, don't hesitate. Call, text, DM us. Leave a comment on YouTube. However it is, we want to know what you're thinking, and we want to know how to help you better. And until next time, thank you for tuning into our Keeping It Real podcast, where I think today we kept it real.
I would say so. Very much looking forward to keeping it real as we continue to move forward.